the death of movie theaters. It's not going to be because of poor movie etiquette or even bad movies. It's going to be because of the studios and the movie theaters. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button to never miss a video. We have daily film content uploaded, including reviews and more. For today's video, I want to talk about the death of cinema, or cinemas, like the movie theaters, not necessarily cinema as a whole. And I feel like this is a topic that has everybody's been talking about. And, let's face it, movie theaters have been on the decline for the past couple of years, even pre-COVID. I'll say the last decade. Because even pre-COVID, movie theaters are on the decline. And then COVID really put a huge dent into theaters and really was almost the dagger that killed them all completely. Of course, people started to go back to the theater after COVID, and then the writer's strike happened, and there wasn't a whole lot to go see, which really kind of also hurt theater experience because there was nothing really out there to go. Like, people were cooped up for like 3 years, 2 years, ready to go back out and, do stuff outside their house for finally, and there was nothing really to see because of all the writer's strikes and the production issues. So that kind of also put a damper on things. However, I would argue that studios and the theater chains or corporations are yet again shooting themselves in the foot. Now, streaming was a huge issue with the studios, and that was part of them kind of shooting themselves in the foot. Piracy was always an issue since the early 2000s. That's been an issue since I was a kid. I remember growing up, even in the early 2000s, you could start streaming movies online or downloading movies online illegally. You had people selling them at flea markets, like the bootlegs. That was always a thing. But I think streaming, when studios bought into streaming, like when Netflix first started doing streaming, studios were just selling all their content to them and letting them stream everything just for easy cash grabs to make money off their existing IPs, and not realizing that was going to be a foot in their own demise, considering that they were just looking for quick money. Because let's face it, DVD sales and home video rentals were the bread and butter for the studios. I don't know numbers off the top of my head exactly, but I know Blockbusters, home video, like Kevin Smith talked about in a couple of his interviews, home video sales would save movies. Like, they would greenlight movies and then be like, it might not hit in theaters, but we'll always hit the money back in home video sales or in theater and home rentals. Because Blockbusters, Hollywood Video, all these big corporate video stores had contracts with the studios where they would pay pennies on the dollar for the actual copy of the movie. Like a VHS, they were selling them for like $50, $40, whatever a pop. When they first came out. Well, video stores would get it like Blockbusters, not mom and pop stores. I'm talking about like the corporations, like Blockbusters would get them for like $2, and then they would pay $2 for the actual cassette, but the studio would get a portion of the video rental sales for X amount of time. And I'm not talking about like I'm talking about the new release wall. If you've ever been to Blockbusters back in the day, you had the new release wall, which was the perimeter of the store. That's where the studios bank their money. I'm not talking about the aisles where it had like action, horror, comedy, and it's like 2002 and you're running a video from 1975 in the horror section. Yeah, studios aren't still banking money off that. They're making money off their new releases, and they're getting a portion of all video rental sales. That's where they made a lot of money at. So that was the first time they kind of shot themselves in the foot by going streaming, because they lost all that revenue. And like I used to work at Walmart, and I remember my one boss who oversaw electronics, we were talking one day because I was always hanging out in electronics on my breaks. I would go to work early just to look at movies. And remember her telling me they would sell like $50,000 a week in video sales, like just on new DVDs. And this, like, Blu-ray was a thing too. So we'll say DVD and Blu-ray. This is before 4K. There was like $40,000 or $50,000 a week just in video sales at one store. That's $50,000 in DVD sales for one Walmart. That's a think about how many Walmart stores, how many other retailers sold physical media. That's a lot of money in that market. And that was again back in like 2012, 2013. So it was still in a very peak season or peak time. It wasn't. Well, it was the end of the peak, because the video sales really peaked in like the mid 2000s, like 2004, 2005. is when DVD sales really peaked. That was still a high end. But moving on to my whole point of this is that studios and theaters are the problem right now. Theaters are making less and are having less and less screen times and screenings, and they're surprised why they're losing money. They're pushing on these popcorn buckets, and this is a side note. The popcorn bucket thing is getting out of control. $60 for a popcorn bucket. Where are you putting all these damn popcorn buckets you're buying? I love collecting stuff. I have a bunch of 7-Eleven Slurpee cups. I literally have my Slurpee cups over here. I actually use them for my ticket stubs, which is another thing we'll talk about in a different video. I have the Transformers, X-Men 2. I got the Simpsons movie, Hangover 2, Spider-Man 3. I have all the different collector's cups 7-Eleven used to do. But I'm talking about the Slurpee cups. You can stack them inside one another. You can display them everywhere, how you want to do it. They're not that hard to display either. But we're talking about these popcorn, and they were cheap too. Your Slurpee's $3. You're paying an extra 10 cents for that special cup was an extra 20 cents or something like that. Nothing outrageous. People are spending $60, $70 on a damn popcorn bucket. They're focusing more on popcorn buckets than they are on actual putting out actual screenings. And which brings us to my whole point. It's the same thing with studios. Studios are no longer marketing their movies in any way, shape, or form. I feel like they're just throwing money at movies and then putting them out there, not marketing them, not even giving them a chance to sell, and saying, "Oh, that's a failure. That's why we just got to make sequels and remakes." Okay, so the whole point of this being is that I was at the movies last week. I saw some in IMAX, so I had to go all the way down. No, it was Dolby. I'm sorry, Dolby. And so I had to walk all the way down the theater. Looking down, as I walked down, I always look at all the movie posters on both sides. I saw a poster for this new movie called The Threesome with Zoe Deutsch, which came out on Friday, 2 days ago. Didn't hear of it. I didn't even know when it was coming out. I just realized I looked up on IMDb. I'm like, that comes out Friday? That's weird. Haven't heard anything about this movie at all. The pure chance of me seeing the poster is because I saw something in Dolby. Because the poster wasn't in the main lobby. There wasn't a single advertisement in the main lobby. There was one poster literally on the side wall in the hallway at the end of the theater, or in the auditorium. So the probability you can seeing the poster is slim to zero, because most people don't pay attention to the posters when they're walking down the auditorium. Half of them don't even pay attention to where they're going. So no marketing, except for one poster at the end of the auditorium. And that's the studio's problem. They don't market this movie at all. There's no trailers, no advertisements. I see a lot of movies in theaters. I haven't seen a single advertisement for this movie at all. Nothing on any social media, and I follow a bunch of different film content creators, film sites. I mean, the least they could do is put a damn poster in the main lobby. That gives your a 70% increased chance people are going to know the movie exists by simply putting a poster in the lobby. I haven't seen anything on IMDb on their main page, nothing on AMC's main page, nothing on Fandango. There's nothing promoting this movie as simple as just having a poster or having it in the upcoming releases on any apps whatsoever, which is another problem. So studios aren't pushing the movie. So when the movie fails, they blame it on, people don't want original content. They want sequels and reboots and stuff that's already based on existing IP. That's because when they do those films, they push so much in the marketing that people know about it. And the second half of that problem is the theaters. People are theater chains. I can't really get the person's name, the head of the Presidential Theaters Association, which is pretty much the head of all the theaters, kind of come almost like a theater union, I guess you'd call it. Talking about how I remember reading an article how theaters are dying and they need studios to shorten windows or expand the windows from theater to streaming, because they were complaining that theaters aren't making any money and aren't having a chance at making money because the time between a movie hits theaters and goes to streaming is too short. And that's, again, been an issue since COVID times. My thing is that theaters are doing it to themselves. Okay, people can't see a movie if you're not offering them the opportunity to do so. And at the same time, with so many movies coming out now and so much variety and things to choose from, the more variety you have, the better probability people are going to come see a movie. Now, my point with this is The Threesome is Zoe Deutsch. Didn't know the movie was coming out. Saw a poster for it. Was like, okay, this looks good. I'm gonna go see this. I was actually supposed to see it tonight, but I fell asleep at the work, took a cat nap, and overslept, and missed my screening. So no problem. It's only Sunday. I can go see it. Well, tomorrow, Monday, I'm seeing The Conjuring, and then Wednesday I'm seeing Splitsville, and then I'm looking at what I can fit in on a Tuesday or Thursday because nothing else comes out really till Friday, so I can squeeze it in there. Pretty caught up on all my other films. Tuesday they have 4 screenings, like a 2 o'clock. No, maybe 3 screenings, like a 2, a 7, and like a 10:40 screening or something. And then there's nothing on Thursday, like whatsoever. There's nothing on Thursday at all. So I'll go see it on Thursday night. Nothing on Thursday. So this movie came out on Friday, and by Thursday night, it's no longer in theaters. And it's not just that one theater. I checked all the theaters. Nowhere's playing it. Nowhere's playing it. And there's a couple theaters, I'm going to rephrase. A couple theaters have it playing between now and Thursday, but it's like 2 or 3 screenings. And again, after Thursday, it's no longer anywhere. So it's like the movie's been out for a week and it's already nobody's playing it. Yet at the same time, Fantastic Four, which came out 6 weeks ago, still has 5 screenings a day. Whereas the Threesome with Zoe Deutsch and then the new movie Splitsville that came out also on Friday with Dakota Johnson only has like 3 or 4 screenings. So a movie that came out on Friday, and today is Sunday, has 4 screenings. 4. A movie that came out 6 weeks ago has 5 screenings. Now, yes, I know people are going to argue, oh, it's Fantastic Four, it's a Marvel movie, it's a superhero movie. That's all the rave. People who actually are going to go see that movie in theaters have already seen it. Nobody's going to go see a superhero movie in theaters 6 weeks after it comes out. By that point in time, 95% of people who are going to see that movie in theaters have already seen it. At this point, it's going to be on streaming in like another week or 2. There's no point in going to the theater. If you already wait 6 weeks and haven't seen it yet, probabilities of people seeing that movie are very slim to none. Now, you have a new movie. Again, there are AMC calls them the Artisans films. That's Splitsville. And the Threesome, I think, is just like a low-budget movie. It's a romantic comedy, which is something that's been kind of on the rise, too, in a subgenre or genre. But gets 3 screenings and is only in theaters for 5 days and it's just no longer there. And they got no marketing. Yet, again, Fantastic Four bound for 6 weeks is 5 screenings. How do you expect movies to succeed if you're not giving them the chance to? And that's my biggest problem right now. Even with theaters, there is no midnight releases anymore. There's no midnight screenings. I remember as far back or as early as 2017, 16, I used to be off on Mondays. My Monday off used to be Mondays. I get off work on Sundays. I used to close every Sunday. Get off at 10, and there was a United Artists Theater by my work, which is a Regal theater. Every Sunday night, I would go to the movies. It didn't matter what was playing. I'm not saying they always had something I wanted to see playing, or like a main attraction playing at 10:30 or 10:30, 11:30 at night. But there was always something playing. I remember seeing like Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again, One Day. What else I said? There was a couple I saw, like just random movies that, like one day, just a random movie that was playing at like a 10:45 screening, and that was the only movie that Sunday that was playing that late. That was the latest screening they had that Sunday, was like 10:45. It must have been a slow week because I don't think there was a whole lot coming out that week. But that was the only movie they had at 10:45. So you know what? I went and saw that. Didn't know what it was about. Wasn't something on my radar, but it was playing, and I had the opportunity to see it because it was playing within the window of time that I had. Went and saw that. I actually really enjoyed it. I think I was like one of like 4 people in the theater. It wasn't a packed screening, but at 10:45 on a Sunday, you're not going to be packed. But the point being is that you still have people seeing the movie. You still have people going to the theater. Because if you show movies, because they had movies showing at like 10 o'clock, 10:15, they had other movies playing. Of course, I get off at 10 o'clock. I'm not going to make a 10:05 or 10:15 screening. Even though the theater was like 14 minutes from my work, I still need, I'd give myself a little bit of grace period. I don't want to have to be like, oh, I leave at 10, I get there at 10:14, the movie starts at 10:15. I'll give myself a little bit of time, just in case I go a couple minutes late. I'm not rushing. So again, that 10:45 screening was just what worked. But you don't have that anymore. I mean, most theaters stop showing movies at like 9 o'clock. The fact that, like with the threesome, okay, that movie's playing at like 10:20 or 10:15. That's like one of 3 screenings, and that's only playing for like 5 days in theaters. Most of the time, they don't have screenings that late. That's a late screening too. I'm actually surprised they have something that late. And the whole point is the theaters are not giving the opportunity to the movies to actually be successful. You know, you have all these movies coming in theaters that have these short windows of time, and you're pulling them right out. You're only giving them 3 or 4 screenings a day, but yet Fantastic Four is getting, when it first came out, 15 screenings a day. I understand, hey, big blockbuster, you're going to have a lot of screenings to fulfill the need. But after 6 weeks, why is that still getting priority over new release films? That is going to be the death of theaters, is that you're not giving people the opportunity to see the movies. And that's across the board. Like, I know a lot of movies that just don't get the opportunity to be seen. Highest to Lowest, the new Spike Lee film. That was playing in 1 theater or 2 theaters in my tri-state area. And again, they had like 3 or 4 screenings for it. And it was only in theaters for like a week and a half, 2 weeks maybe. And then it hit streaming. You're not even giving it a chance to succeed. So how do you expect it to succeed? That, I think, is going to be the biggest contribution to the downfall of movie theaters. Lack of marketing and lack of opportunity to see movies. Because you're only playing the blockbuster films and the superhero films, and you're giving them all the attention. You're losing out on a huge market of people who see movies. Even bad movies people see. Like, I remember seeing The Last Exorcism Part 2 on a Friday night at like 10 o'clock. The movie was packed. It got out. When the movie ended, literally everybody in the theater was complaining how horrible it was. And I remember looking at the one guy, I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, did you not see the same movie I saw? I'm like, he was complaining about how shaky it was and how it was all over the place. I'm like, literally my response was, what did you expect? It's a found footage horror film made on like a $4 million budget. It was never intended to be a Silence of the Lambs. Like, I don't know what you thought you were seeing, but that ain't it. And there's a lot of people are like, yeah, we should listen to the critics. This movie sucked. I'm like, again, what did you expect? And all these people in the theater are complaining. Like, literally, I'm sitting there and you just hear people complaining. And quite a few people say, oh, we should listen to the critics, or we should listen to so-and-so because they saw it and it was horrible. Even bad movies still make money when you give them an opportunity to do so. The fact of the matter is, and over the course of the last 10 years, even pre-COVID, they've been cutting back on these screenings and the screen times. Like I said, I've emailed AMC, I've emailed Regal, I've reached out to them on Twitter back in the day, and so on and so forth about the lack of screenings and lack of opportunity to see films, and bring back midnight screenings. People I know are very adamant on social media right now about bringing back the ticket stubs. People are saying, "Oh, I'll get movies more if you brought back the real ticket stubs, not the paper receipts." And other content creators saying, "Oh, well, I'd pay more if you brought back the paper stub or the actual ticket stubs on the good paper, not the ticket receipts." Because a lot of people collect stubs. I mean, I'm one of them. I have every movie stub since I was in the 5th grade and saw Star Wars: Revenge of the Sith. I literally had that ticket stub. Every ticket stub from that moving forward, I have. And I remember that because it was the first movie I ever saw in theaters. Me and my buddy went. That was like our parents let us go by ourselves. It was a huge thing. Like, we were like dead set on we're big kids now. And I remember it's actually a funny story because my friend's brother, he was older than us. I think we were like 10 or something. We were in the 5th grade. He was older though. So he actually, I think he was like 16 or 17 at the time. He worked at the movie theater. So that's why our parents were like, okay, well, let him go. Because he was working that night. So it's like, he keep an eye on him and check on him and stuff like that throughout the night. So that's how we actually started doing that. But I actually keep on movie stuff. So I understand the desire for having those sticker stubs, not the paper receipts. I mean, I still keep the paper receipts. But yeah, people are saying that would make them go to the movies more. Bring back midnight screenings. Have more screenings. I think they're investing so much money into these popcorn buckets and all these cash grab, like minute things that aren't gonna try. People literally buy them. It's becoming a thing. But I've literally seen people who literally just go to like 4 different theaters to buy the popcorn buckets or to collect the different buckets and don't even see a movie. Yeah, the theaters are making money off that because that's where they make their money from concession stands and the popcorn buckets, not necessarily tickets, because ticket sales, theaters actually, fun fact, don't make any money on ticket revenue until I think after like 3 weeks or something like that, and then they get a portion of the revenue. But for X amount of time, theater chains don't make money off the actual movies. It all goes to the studios. It's not until after and that's where back there's not even, I don't think any of these left anymore. But you had the $2 theaters. I think last one I know of in my area, it went up to $4.50, and they closed up a couple years, 2 years ago, and that became a grocery outlet or something. And it used to be $4 for a movie because it was all the movies after they left theaters, before they hit video or streaming, they would have a little window at these cheap movie theaters, they call them. And that's where you go see your cheap, and that's when those theaters made money off ticket sales because it was a last run. So I guess they made a portion of ticket sales. I'm not saying they made all the money that went to concession off ticket sales, but $4 ticket, they might make 50-50 split. And I'm just making an example. I really don't know how much money the studios made off that, last ditch effort before home video. But again, you don't have that. You don't even have those anymore. Theaters are just, they're stripping away more and more and expecting more and more. They want less. They want more for less. They're giving us less screenings, less movies to choose from, and they want more profits and they want more ticket sales. Again, coming back to the whole Fantastic Four thing. After 6 weeks, how many people are going to come see that movie? Again, everybody who's going to see it is going to see it within that first month usually. After a month the movie's been out in theaters, you're generally not going to have continued growth. That happened a handful of times where you'll see ticket sales continue to grow week after week. Most notably, that happened in the 90s and early 2000s. Titanic. Each week, Titanic was making more and more money. Avatar, 2009. Each week was continuing to make more and more money. And continued to make a shit ton of money as the weeks went on. And it was in theaters forever. But again, that was because that was a groundbreaking film that was something that was an experience. I knew people when I was in high school went and saw it maybe 4 and 5 times in theaters because it was an experience. Again, you're not really, that's a one-off. That's not every single movie. And then, of course, Scream is a perfect example. Scream went in theaters in December of 1996. It was still in theaters in March of 1997 when they started the production of Scream 2 because it just kept making money, and it was a huge deal. A one-off, and again, that was in the 90s. This time frame in which movies are making more and more money each and every week and continuing to grow is a thing of the past. Example, A24 is a huge kind of studio that's kind of really taken off over the past couple of years, and a lot of their films are more niche in some aspects and still do really well. And you have these lower budget films or these indie style films that aren't big budget movies that aren't getting the heyday in theaters, and you're losing a lot because you're still trying to bank on the superhero blockbuster kind of mentality that if you keep Fantastic Four, again, I'm coming back to Fantastic Four, in theaters for 6 weeks, you're going to continue to make money instead of putting out another film that isn't a big blockbuster but will still bring audience to the theaters. I don't know anybody who goes and sees the same movie every week in theaters, but I've met plenty of people in my experience and my time in seeing films in theaters who go and see just anything in theaters that's playing. They'll go see a different movie every week. And if you don't put out new movies, they're not going to come back and see the same movies. So that's my theory or my thoughts on what's going to be the death of the cinemas and what's really hurting theaters now. And again, I doubt anything's going to change. Like I said, I've been very vocal about this. I even reached out to the various different companies, and nothing happens. But, I just feel like the need to kind of put it out there that this is a problem, and if it doesn't change, we're going to see the repercussions of that. I would love to hear your thoughts, though. Comment below. Let me know.